Well, hello everyone. I have been trying to wait on making this video because obviously some things have still not been completely settled. So that's why this video is titled As the Dust Settles. Because it's pretty clear what has happened on election day. So, to say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. I know a lot of, I know all of the people in positions of influence were all like, "Oh, it was a great night. It was a great night nonetheless." Blah blah blah. I'm like, not really, not really. I mean, the problem is, or was, the hype up to everything on election day, and sometimes when you build up that much hype, you really gotta perform. And when you come out flat, then people are going to be disappointed and call it a loss. So that's basically what I'm going to go over today. Is a lot of things regarding the election. I've a ton of screenshots, and I'm doing this from home, and you're probably going to hear me a few times yell at my dog because he barks at literally everything. And I don't know how much patience I'm going to have editing this video because it's probably going to be long because I got a ton of stuff to go through, including, and I know I'm probably going to get some crap for this, but including my stance on this whole big drama, this orchestrated, in my opinion, drama between Trump and DeSantis. Now, we'll get into that later. But first off, thanks for watching this video. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to all the men and women who have served. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy your day. As for me, I have the day off, which is very nice. Thank you very much to the veterans for that. I really think we could do more for veterans on Veterans Day. Not just nationally, but on a local level as well. I mean, if the best we can do is say, hey, come on in for a free cheeseburger and a Coke at Applebee's, it's like, I think these guys deserve something a little bit better than a cheeseburger, maybe a steak dinner or something like that, but I digress. That's totally a different subject. So, first things first, let's just dive right into Arizona and a bunch of these other states. As you can see on the screen here, this was the very first thing I saw on election day, and I was like, oh man, here we go again. This is exactly the same script from 2020, and I know a lot of people were saying fix 2020 first, and I agreed. A lot of things needed to change, but it was very, very hard to get any of these things changed because you have to look at, especially in Arizona, who's the Secretary of State? Katie Hobbs. Who's in charge of elections? The Secretary of State, which is Katie Hobbs. Very little was going to change in Arizona. So, this was probably, between Pennsylvania and Arizona, this was, well, and Nevada, but Nevada is its own bucket of crap to wade through in its own right. But the areas between Pennsylvania and Arizona, it's like they're up there as like probably one of the most difficult places to win because of their completely ass backwards ways of conducting elections. So here we have a poll worker in Maricopa County tells election day voters that the machines are broken. Now, you have to remember, these issues are extremely, I should say nefarious, because a lot of people are taking time out of their workday. There are a lot of people who don't have off on election day, and there are a lot of states that don't give a full day off to their workers for election day. There are some states that only allow a few hours for people to go and cast their vote. A handful of them do paid hours, but there are a lot of them who don't do any paid hours. Like, you have to go and not get paid for it to go and vote. And then there are other states that don't do anything. Like, you're just SOL if you can't if you can't vote. So this is one of those situations where election, and you have to remember, Richard Barris talks about this a lot. Majority of Republicans vote on election day, and the reason why is because they believe that is the only day that should be counted as voting. And I agree to some extent. There are like certain things I'm willing to kind of give some leeway on, but not a lot. So the machines are broken. That was the first thing we saw, as you can see, as the sun was coming up in beautiful Arizona. So now, move on to the next one. So in Maricopa County, about 10% of polling places are experiencing problems with tabulators. One machine became operative after it was clean. Voters can still place their ballots, get this, in a slot in a locked container that will be counted at the downtown tabulation center tonight. Now, after what happened in 2020, the large amount of people who have responded to polls saying that they don't believe that the 2020 election was, let's just say, conducted in the most accurate manner, I don't think there are a lot of people who are very confident in doing something like that, And there's just a lot of people who really take voting seriously, and they're just all like, I just don't trust. Like, I'll give you an example. Here's a good example. So 2020, my fiance and I went to vote. We had just recently moved into our new apartment, so our our IDs hadn't been fully changed, and we got there, and I had other documentation that showed that I was at the right place, and they accepted it. But for my fiance, I think she forgot, or they didn't accept whatever thing that she brought, and she had to fill out this form with all of her information, and then she had to cast her ballot and then hand it to them, and then they had to send it to the elections office to be verified and approved. And then I was able to vote normally. Well, get this. A freaking week later, she gets a letter from the county saying that her vote wasn't accepted. And you're just like, this is just like, what the hell are you supposed to do in that situation, she had documentation that proved she was at the right place, but for some reason, that poll worker didn't accept it. And then she had to fill out this thing that had all of her information on it, and she had to send it in. Like, the fact that even something like that, like, they just didn't accept it. So that was really annoying. This year we didn't have any issues, even though, our vote basically didn't count in where we live, because it's I think it's too far gone at this point. So this is another thing. Like, this disenfranchises voters, because a lot of people, they're just like, I want to vote, but I can't afford to stand here all day. So they move on, and they make a business decision and they leave. So here's another one from Mr. Posobiec. So, issues reported with machines in Wickenburg, Arizona, northwest of Maricopa. And then their people are doing their due diligence, filming this stuff. And, all day I was hearing people like, yes, keep filming this stuff. The worker tells the voter to stop filming, obviously. So, next one. Voting machines are down in each district across Mercer County, New Jersey, according to officials. Voters can still vote using a standard ballot at their polling locations. You see, this is why we need to get rid of these machines. They're causing nothing but problems, ironically, in important states. It's funny how that works. So, but they're saying right here, voters can still vote using a standard ballot at their polling location. Well, why can't everybody just do that instead of use these stupid machines that nobody trusts? Nobody trusts at all. There's a reason why. I'll get to that in a second. I want to get through the rest of these real quick. The rest of these, this bracket of screenshots. So Dave Smith on Twitter, I still can't shake this bizarre feeling about Biden's closing pitch out of the midterms. He said there's going to be election deniers and that you must accept the results. Why would a president say this about a midterm that by all accounts he's about to get crushed in? Weird. Now you can take that one of two ways. You can take that as Biden saying, hey, I know some of you may be disappointed with the results and that we're going to lose, but you have to accept the results. Don't become an election denier like, the mega MAGA crowd. Or just telling people, hey, you know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. And you can't say a darn thing about it. And you have to accept the results. So you can take that one of two ways. Obviously, with how things are going, with how this administration is run, everyone's taking the latter on this one. So, yeah, kind of ominous. All right, Harmeet Dillon. Arizona voters, please be aware that there are dozens of Republican lawyers monitoring the tabulating situation in Maricopa County and all Arizona counties. Speaking with the county lawyers and ensuring that votes will count, please do your part and vote. We have your back. Well, it's good to see that she is out there running damage control on this whole thing. And when I say damage control, I mean damage control on people leaving and just saying screw it, These are people who are probably on their last legs when it comes to actually voting and believing that their vote counts. So it's good to see that someone's out there doing this, but like the damage is already done. That's the thing. The damage has been done. How much you can try and heal that damage is up for grabs, but and this will lead into my whole complaint about Arizona in just a moment. I might as well just refer to it now because I may forget. So she's saying that there's all these lawyers monitoring all of this in Arizona. If that's the case, now I admit there's two possible outcomes here. If that's the case, why the hell on Friday, November 11th, are they still counting this damn vote in Maricopa? And they're saying that they're probably not going to get the results until next week. If this is the case. Now, again, you can take that one of two ways. They're not doing a good enough job of monitoring this situation and trying to keep this count going. Or two, they are doing a good job and other people are trying their darndest to find ways to get around the monitoring, if you catch my drift. So again, this just all points back to, so many people right now are like, this is it. Like, this is over. Like, no matter what happens, they're just going to find more ballots. I briefly watched part of Tucker Carlson's monologue last night, and he said the same exact thing. He went back, him and his team went back over past elections and went through and found instances where these toss-up or right-leaning counties and districts in America had votes being counted past Election Day. And I think he said 10 out of the 13 that were real close all went Democrat. It's like, that's not a coincidence. That's over 70%. Once you get over 70%, it's no longer a coincidence, in my opinion. So you can see why people are losing faith in this as a whole. So moving on, here, Detroit. Nobody should be surprised about this, but some voters in Detroit who voted in person were told that they had already voted absentee. Well, hey, that sounds a lot like 2020, only we saw that everywhere in 2020. The Department of Elections is aware of the problem. Hard lists will be used, not electronic ones, and everyone will be allowed to vote. So basically, it just becomes a complete cluster. You know what? So, and I know it's Detroit, Michigan, but man, and that's again, that was another one, very winnable. Somehow Tudor Dixon lost. And this is, I'm going to show you a bunch of maps in a second. And maybe even the next photo. No, not yet. Okay, so more Harmeet Dillon here. I'm going to show you some maps here in a second that are going to continue to fuel my rage rant about needing state electoral colleges, and I quote and I credit Razor Fist for that. He's the one who initially I had first heard that from as an idea. He's the first person I ever heard bring that up as an idea, and I 100% back it. And after looking at election maps, I'm like, Jesus Christ, can you make an argument for state electoral colleges? I doubt it would ever, because there's enough hate on the national electoral college as it is, but it's a real conversation that should be had if people really care about representation in this country. So, and in the states that they live in. But the thing is that they only care about the representation if it benefits them. That's it. So Harmeet Dillon, this was I could not believe this was an option here. So latest guidance from Maricopa County voters. If you've checked in, quote, at a Maricopa County voting location where tabulators don't work, you should not leave and go to another location without casting a vote. Your provisional ballot at new location likely will not count. If you have already checked in at a Maricopa County voting location where the tabulators do not work, you can 1. Wait for your ballot to be tabulated on site. 2. Ask to use the disabled voting machine. What? Or 3. Leave your ballot in a box to be counted later at HQ. Again, we saw that earlier and we already commented on that. If you have not checked in to vote in Maricopa County and you are informed that the tabulating machines are not working there, you can go vote at another site in the county. Here's a list to find a place with a small line. And number 4, if you are leaving your ballot in the box to be tabulated later, we have trained Republican volunteers who will follow and track the transportation of these ballots and monitor their counting. This was prearranged given prior issues in Maricopa County. Do vote. I have to tell you this. In a state where you have a very large retirement community in Arizona, a lot of people go there to retire, and you also have young people, it's a very, especially in Maricopa County and Tempe, where ASU is, you have a lot of college people from different states and all that stuff, which is why everybody wonders why Arizona could go blue. I'm like, it's ASU. ASU is continuing to become a much bigger place for people to go. They have a great science department. I know because I lived in Tempe. They have a great science and engineering department. There's also a lot of tech companies that are out there, like GoDaddy and Intuit. Like, there are jobs out there for the I guess Gen Z. I don't even know what you call it anymore. But for the younger generation getting through college, there's a lot of opportunity there. And it's not really cheaper to live there anymore. It's actually pretty expensive because of the explosion of population in Maricopa County. And it's all transplants from other states, mainly West Coast states. So, and as they continue to pass things like they want to legalize marijuana. Right now, it's like you have to get like a card in order for you to go to a dispensary. But getting a card is as easy as getting a driver's license, just more expensive. And I know that from personal experience, knowing somebody who did all that out there. But you have these situations. People are going to look at this and go, no. They're going to read the first 2 and go, no, this is ridiculous. This is too much. Screw it. I'm just not going to go through this. I ain't got time for this. Ain't nobody got time for this crap. You know what I mean? So majority of people are going to look at this and they're just going to say, to hell with this, Granted, a lot of people may not. They may really care and they really are like, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure my vote's counted, and Godspeed to them. But I don't fault people for looking at this and saying, I'm not freaking jumping through a burning hoop just to cast a freaking vote. It shouldn't be this hard. All of you, I'm out of here. Seriously. And that's just how Americans are, especially the older community. I know this, especially the older community. They're going to look at this. They're just going to be confused and they're just going to say, you know what? I don't care. I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying? So again, disenfranchisement, something that the left is always complaining about. Oh yeah. Also, I wanted to make a brief comment. I think I'm done with the Arizona part real quick. This right here is the reason why Colorado will never be a red or a swing state. Right here. This type of crap. And it all started with the legalization of dude weed. That's how it all started, and it's never going back. And now they're going to decriminalize hallucinogenics, basically mushrooms. So, yeah, good luck ever running as a conservative in Colorado. All right, so here's the first map I wanted to show. So this is Pennsylvania. Well, part of it is a little cut off because of this thing here. Take a look at this. If you were to look at this at face value, not knowing anything about the state of Pennsylvania, you would say, oh, wow, that's a very red state. You'd be mostly correct. But as you can see, it's not. And this total only went up, and this total barely moved at all. And then, of course, and this is another thing, these fucking libertarians, don't even get me started with these idiots. Oh my God. You want to talk about a party that completely subverts and upends state elections? It's these motherfuckers. I can't stand. Libertarian used to mean something. Now it's a joke, okay? They're all jokes. And the only thing they're good for is screwing up election results. I guarantee you more than half of these votes would have gone for Oz if it wasn't for the libertarian vote. I guarantee you. I am almost 100% sure that way over 50% of these votes would have gone to Oz, and this race probably would have been a lot tighter, and Oz may have even won. But you look at this: Scranton, Erie, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, corruptadelphia, I can't even think. Philadelphia, one of the worst cities in the entire United States. All of them hard blue. But you look at the rest of the state, and it's like deep or light red. And you're just like, this makes no sense. You're literally telling me that this entire state, a lot of it Amish country, a good portion of it Amish country, is being controlled by these insane cities that are literally working against their own people's best interests. So that's Pennsylvania. Oh, shoot. There we go. This is Michigan. And I was talking about Tudor Dixon. This was a very winnable race. Again, you look at this. You look at the counties. You look at the districts. Looks like a very red state. And to some extent it is. But because of Detroit, Flint, I'll say something about Flint in a second. Lansing, Grand Rapids, and Marquette. And a few fraction, districts here and there, all pretty much control the entire state. Again, it really boggles the mind. And as for Flint, a city that has been completely crushed and broken down and completely mismanaged by the left, still goes hard blue. I don't get it. It's the definition of insanity. So again, here is another example. State Electoral College win. Here's Kansas. Look at this one. I know Kansas, a lot of it is farm country. But you're telling me Wichita, Topeka, and Kansas City, and then a few fractions, dictate what all of these people have to abide by as far as legislation goes. Now, I have to verify. I'm not 100% sure who won this election. Okay, I did. Okay, no, that's for the Senate. I'm looking for. Was there a governor race? There was. Okay, well, it's for the Senate. Jerry Moran won. But I'm looking for... governor. Yeah. And this is another thing I don't get. So I'll show this in just a second. Oh, shoot. Here you can see here that Kelly won, but this is, I don't understand it. I really don't. Again, I think you could look at this right here. If these two people did not exist, I think this person would have won. I think Derek Schmidt would have won. So you're telling me that Kansas elects a Democratic governor, but if you go to the Senate, Topeka and Wichita went for Jerry Morin by a hard margin. Wasn't even close. Again, makes no sense why people won't vote down ballot. I don't understand that. I really don't. So again, State Electoral College won. Jesus, where was I? I think this was next. Yeah, New York. Boy, you want to talk about, you really want to talk about State Electoral College. New York is probably the prime example. You're telling me that New York City, it's down here, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo dictate what all of these people have to do. Now, I know a lot of it is basically, like, everybody talks about, like, population and all that stuff. I think this was the last state I had. This was the last state I had as an example. So with all of that, everyone's going to talk about population density. There's not a whole lot of people in those other districts and all that stuff. Sure, that makes sense. But how come that matters in state elections, but it doesn't matter in federal elections when you're talking about states like Kansas and Utah and Montana and Wyoming and Iowa, you know, a lot of these quote unquote flyover states. All of those states get electoral college votes. And the reason for that is simple. If the president is going to preside over every state, they need to actually make an effort to campaign in every state to make their case. Well, how come a governor of a state or a senator of a state only has to go to Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany, and New York City, and then they win? How come they don't have to go and explain their views to these people or 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 any of these other hard red areas? If you were to actually institute a state electoral college, you would force these far left, insane lunatics to have to go into Republican areas and try and explain their policies to these people and how it's going to benefit them, which, that's a trick question. It's not. So that's why I'm in favor of state electoral colleges. I think all of these people who live in this state that is being run into the ground, same with other states like Michigan and Pennsylvania and New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, you know, all of those. I had another one. I forget. I missed it. I knew I had another one. Where is it? Nevada. That was my other one. I think it's around here somewhere. Watch. We're gonna find it in a second. Yeah, it'll be later. But Nevada was another one. It was literally Las Vegas, and that was it. But I know, again, Nevada, you want to talk about population density and the lack thereof in certain areas. I get that. But still, those people deserve a voice. Those people deserve to have their needs be seriously considered, you know, and not just thrown to the side because, I got Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, and New York City. I don't need to worry about anybody else. And everyone else is just going to have to go along with what I say, you know? So that's where I stand with that. All right, so here's the thing. New in Pennsylvania, here's something else. The early youth vote is at 318% compared to 2018. The early black vote is at 1,770% compared to 2018. And the early woman vote is at 725% compared to 2018. Something is happening in Pennsylvania. I don't know how they meant that, but you're damn right something's happening in Pennsylvania. This is from the Courier newsroom, so I don't know who that is. I just saw this online and I decided to screen grab it. If this is true, early voting, this is where I'm going to go on early voting for a minute. Early voting needs to be reformed. If not, completely tossed out the window. Because, and I made this point off air, outside of the program, with my fiance, I said the reason why, this quote has already been hammered back during 2020, that COVID was God's gift to the left. It sure as hell was. But I think the residual effects of all of the policies regarding elections because of COVID going forward is going to have ripple effects for decades, in my opinion. So you look at this past election cycle, this midterms, and you look at states like Arizona and Pennsylvania, and maybe some other states, I don't know, but these were the two that stuck out for me. These two governors, governor in Arizona and Senate in Pennsylvania, refused to debate. Refused. Katie Hobbs straight up refused to debate Kari Lake the entire time. Did not want to debate, didn't want to do anything, didn't want nothing to do with her. Ran away from journalists, asking her questions, literally just hid from the public eye as much as she could unless she was going to a friendly area to rally, and that was it. John Fetterman had a stroke. Nobody knew how bad it was because they kept him, like they did Joe Biden, locked away in a basement and refused to debate. And then it got to the point where enough honest people were saying, I got to hear Fetterman debate. I got to hear him talk. I got to hear him speak. So they finally did. And it was a freaking train wreck. Nobody can deny that. And anybody who does is delusional and trying to trick you. So with early voting, I guarantee you there were thousands of people who voted on the very first day of early voting, very first few days of early voting, before that debate with Oz took place. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how early. Let's look it up. Because I don't want to be wrong and have my foot in my mouth. Voting dates. All right, you can also register to vote. Early voting typically begins 4 to 6 weeks before the election. So how about that? This is, I think I just found an early voting calendar. So let's go down to Pennsylvania. It varies by county. Here it is. But counties may make absentee and mail-in ballot applications available to voters in person up to 50 days before nearly 2 months before the election in Pennsylvania. It does vary by county, but come on. Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, do you really think they're not going to have the maximum amount of days allowed to early vote? So, what was it? Maybe a week and a half before Election Day, they had that debate. 2 weeks maybe at most. Thousands of people had already voted early, and it was too late. It was too late to change it. They heard and they were like, oh my God, I voted for a guy who can't speak. So, in my opinion, early voting needs to be heavily relegated. My fiance said a week. I said, hell nah. Election day is on a Tuesday. You got from Friday to Election Day. If you can't make it in, I got nothing for you. And anything received after the polls close on Election Day is tossed out the window. It's Election Day for a reason, not election week, not election month, not election season. Like, it's election day, okay? Companies and states and counties have bent over backwards to give people as much freaking time and leeway to go and vote as humanly possible. Some states can do a little bit better, but some states have gone way overboard with it. So that's my take on early voting. Let's see. I don't even know where I'm at right now. I'm going to take a guess. Are we here? All right. I thought this was funny. So here's some exit polls here. So married men broke Republican by 20 points. Married women broke Republican by 14 points. Unmarried men broke Republican by 7 points. But unmarried women broke Democrat by a whopping 37 points. Let that sink in. Miserable unmarried women are literally destroying Western civilization. I can't agree more. Oh, my Lord. God help us all. All right, we're here. All right, so this is where I'm going to get into the future of GOP leadership and DeSantis. Okay. From Anthony Sabatini and Kevin McCarthy has got to go. And there's no freaking way that he should be allowed to be Speaker of the House. So Kevin McCarthy spent close to $10 million going after me, Joe Kent, and 6 other Republicans in their primary elections. That money could have been spent lifting up the Republicans we just saw lose. McCarthy is a failed disgrace and must not become Speaker. I can't agree more. Here's the thing. McCarthy is a backstabbing, lying piece of crap who only cares about himself and will do anything to get back in a position of power. And there have been many instances and examples of this. McCarthy constantly, just like Mike Pompeo, just constantly told Trump what he wanted to hear just to get his support, and then is willing now to throw him under the bus. And he has, on the record, stated that he does not like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert. He has constantly said, he is on the record, on hot mic, recorded saying that he wants them to not be tweeting anymore. When he heard about some of the things that they were saying, he literally said, is there a way we can get them to not have as much traction on tweets? AKA, is there a way we can get them shadow banned so that these tweets, these things that they're saying aren't made public? The guy is a snake. He's a lying piece of crap who does not deserve to be Speaker of the House at all. And it's not just him, it's Mitch McConnell as well. They both need to go. Here's one from Raheem Kassam, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Getting texts from MAGA coattail riders who are now flipping on Trump. Same people who backed Ted Cruz, etc. in 2016. They don't get it. This poor performance reveals McCarthy, McConnell, and Ronna McDaniel need to go, need ousting. Trump didn't run these campaigns. They did, appallingly. Yes, guys, I've complained about bad picks for years too. But these candidates come from GOP Central, not him. Unfortunately, he has the impossible job of holding a coalition of Republicans together, and what we're really seeing is how untenable the, quote, big tent stuff is. And I agree with him on this. And the biggest one is, of course, Pennsylvania. That was probably, next to Georgia and Arizona, Pennsylvania was probably the biggest and most important Senate race in the country. And everyone is pointing at Trump and saying he endorsed a bad candidate. Oz was a bad candidate. Let me stop you right there before you mentally hurt yourself. Oz was not the main front runner in that election. If anybody was really paying attention, you would know that it was Sean Parnell. I think that's his first name, but I know his last name is Parnell. Yeah, Sean Parnell. He was the front runner. He was the MAGA pick. He was the top guy that Trump was looking at. Parnell was looking to crush in the Pennsylvania Senate race. But I'll tell you what happened. And it's very sad, and I understand it, but it was a very, very terrible thing that happened, and it was borderline on purpose. He was in a very, very heated custody battle with his now ex-wife. The judge, just like all of this stuff happens in these divorce courts, don't get me started on this stuff, it always favors the women. And the judge actually said to Parnell that they believed that him campaigning for a Senate seat was going to impact his ability to be a suitable parent. So he dropped out of the race. I understand it's for family. He wanted to make sure his family was okay. He wanted to get all of that stuff squared. But that judge screwed the state of Pennsylvania because I literally can't, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. You literally can't sit there and tell me that him running for a very important Senate seat is going to, is like the main reason why you don't think he's going to be a good parent. I find that appallingly stupid. So, because how many single people with kids have how many people with families have gone and don't get me started. I'm gonna rant and rant and rant. So Parnell dropped out because of that, and it left the Republicans holding an empty bag and like, we got to fill this. And there wasn't a lot of really solid picks, and Trump was like, okay, I guess Oz is the guy. So Oz threw his hat in the ring, had a lot of support, well known. No, everybody knows who he is. Trump knows him personally. So he said, okay, we'll roll with Oz. And you have to sit here and you have to realize that the state of Pennsylvania, on face value, decided to vote for a man who had a stroke, who can barely talk, who only wears hoodies and sweatshorts, over a guy who is a heart surgeon. That should pretty much tell you about the state of Pennsylvania. So the candidates weren't bad. It was just McConnell and McCarthy and Ronna McDaniel spent little to no money actually working to help these people. So that's my take on that. Damn it. I hate it when it does this list thing. I can never remember which photo I'm on. Usually it's supposed to highlight them. No, we're not on that. All right, I think we're here. Okay. So here we go with the DeSantis train. And this is, like I said, this all seemed coordinated. How convenient that after the midterms that have gone not as well as people wanted and everybody's pointing the finger at Trump, well, now everybody is suddenly saying Trump needs to go, he needs to step aside, and it's got to be DeSantis now. Well, here you go. Matt Straller on CNBC. Andrew Ross Sorkin just said he got emails from several CEOs saying that it was a big relief that Donald Trump had a bad night. They were pro-DeSantis. Here's some food for thought, everybody. Wall Street, David French, and Paul Ryan, I'll let you collect yourself and hold back your vomit, are all endorsing DeSantis. Just pointing this out. If the establishment is telling me who they think I should vote for, I'm voting for the complete opposite. Okay? That's just where I stand now. These pieces of crap are not going to tell me who is the best candidate for the Republican Party anymore. They've lost all good faith. They've lost all credibility. They should not be listened to in the slightest. And this is all, in my opinion, as the Joker would say, part of the plan. So moving on to the next one. Like, this is probably going to get pretty heated for me. Oh, well, okay, this is what happens when I can't organize my pictures. This is more exit polls, so or not exit polls, but this is just more Gallup polls. Okay. What do you consider the most important issue for women in this election among female registered voters? Abortion, jobs, healthcare, the economy, equal rights, and then everything else, government regulation, education, Medicare for the elderly, Social Security, and taxes are all at the very bottom. And this is in 12 key swing states from October 5th to October 11th in 2012. This is old. This is an older thing, but I feel like this is still really important. What do you consider the most important issue for men in this election among male registered voters? Jobs, the economy, federal budget deficit, healthcare, taxes, government regulation, and then all of the honesty and integrity is at the very bottom. And this is why we can't have nice things. Okay. Moving on. Here we go. Okay, so here's another thing about, this is for Nevada, I believe. Remember, there are still thousands of mail ballots yet to be counted in the urban counties where Dems have won mail big. That includes 70,000 in Clark, 40,000 in Washoe. Those do not include mail ballots postmarked by election that can and it will arrive through this freaking Saturday. Oh, Nevada, they're really working for that worst state when it comes to elections. So here's woke feminism. So here's the only thing I give. One of the few things I give credit for Ron DeSantis, and it was honestly orchestrated by Jeb Bush. He showed everybody how to do it. I'm pretty sure it was Jeb Bush who fixed elections in Florida. But anyway, count 7.5 million votes in 5 hours while rebuilding from a hurricane with another on the way. Katie Hobbs can't count 3 million votes in 3 days, has worked less than 20 days 2 years in a row, calls him a Nazi, and demands she be given the same job. Nothing shady going on in Arizona again. Move along, extremists. Muscle tough. Oh, we're going to get in trouble. All right. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for. All right. The Lincoln Project. Think about this for a second. The Lincoln Project officially endorses Ron DeSantis for 2024. Going down the list. This should really worry everybody. Okay? Paul Ryan, Jeb Bush, Mitch McConnell, Mike Pence, Liz Cheney, Ken Griffin, Mike Pompeo, and the Lincoln Project. The list keeps growing. Such great company, right, people? Think about this. It's literally a neocon establishment, club are all going around DeSantis. And this should make literally everybody run in the opposite direction. I'm telling you, man. This is exactly you know what it compares to when it comes to people supporting a thing? The Ukraine war. Or I should say the war in Ukraine with Russia. And Robert Barnes said this. He said, if one side who's backing Ukraine and sending all these military technologies and wanting us to get involved and sending all of this money are Klaus Schwab, Hillary Clinton, Victoria Nuland, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George Soros, he's all like, I'm going to go on the other side of that equation, and that's the same exact thing here. You're telling me people backing Ron DeSantis are the literal creeps at the Lincoln Project? Mike Pompeo, Liz Cheney, Mike Pence, Paul Ryan? I'm going to be on the complete opposite of this list. Okay, I want to see who's not endorsing DeSantis and endorsing Donald Trump for 2024. So, I think we might be getting close to the end here. Yes, here's another thing. Ron DeSantis in 2024 is basically Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz in 2016. 5 days in bunker following Mar-a-Lago raid in August. No express support for Donald Trump following Mar-a-Lago raid. New brand image consulting team in August. New communications team in August. National advertising campaign, 94% billionaire and corporate funding, raised over $200 million for a governor race. Now this I want to actually see, because I could have sworn he actually did do an event for Lee Zeldin. Let's see, fundraising event. Yep, that's actually true. DeSantis skips Zeldin fund. This is back in August, though, so he recently did do an event with him, but he did but it was apparently for a memorial service. Let me see. To attend a memorial service. Okay, he did that. Okay, to attend a memorial service. Okay. I don't know about this New York real estate donor who supports Hochul. I don't know about that. Apparently, all the same, like the New York Post. I mean, I know the New York Post is starting to get a little flaky, but we're all saying it was for him to attend a memorial service for someone in his security detail that had died. So that I understand. But endorsed by the Club Growth, voted to support TPP trade agreement and Obama fast-track trade authorization. I think this was back when he was a senator. Supports all Ukraine funding and U.S. government spending in Ukraine. Endorsed Florida red flag laws, most firearm confiscation of any state. That I need to double check. Silent over the 100 Florida citizen J6 detainees. That is true. He actually supported that. He came out and vocally supported that those people be arrested. Asked legislation to criminalize boycotts of Israeli companies, including pharmaceutical companies. Now, you can say whatever you want about that. I just think that criminalizing people who don't want to do business with a certain place is totalitarian. Like forcing them to have to do business with them or something like that, or making it illegal to boycott them makes it easier to accuse them of boycotting that thing when they don't want to do business with them, if that makes sense. No support for E-Verify system or employment law against illegal alien hires. That I don't know about. He's been pretty... So a lot of this, like I skimmed through this. A lot of this I didn't really read like fully. So, but endorsed by Paul Ryan, by Jeb Bush. Yeah, sooner or later people have to admit the obvious. Ron DeSantis is generally a good governor, but he is being dishonest in his national intent. The forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was made of wood, he was one of them. Very good. Very good. So I think, oh yeah, this was Nevada. Yeah, election officials in Nevada say that they have been flooded by thousands of mail-in ballots, and it may take several days to count the votes and upload results. Yeah, so anyway, that was, I don't know how that got to the bottom of the list. All in all, what I'm saying is that people have to realize that you don't have to completely disown Ron DeSantis right now, but you do have to realize that he is worth keeping an eye on. I know all these people are endorsing him right now. His reaction is ultimately what's going to matter. Now, because at this point, there is no reason to trust him, in my opinion. All the wrong people are supporting and supporting him and saying that Trump needs to step aside and let go and move on. So apparently we're going to get a huge announcement from Trump on Tuesday, I believe, the 15th. And a lot of people are speculating it's going to be him announcing his bid to run again in 2024, which is perfectly fine, in my opinion. But all I have to say right now is that I personally have lost all motivation to vote going forward. Depending on how things go with the Republican National Convention, like with the, not National Convention, but with the Republican Party, and apparently Kevin McCarthy had a closed-door meeting with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Who knows what was said in that? You know, I've already had a few things to say about her investing in Raytheon and all that stuff just days before they were sending all of their, you know, javelins to Ukraine, and they were going to be basically having to replenish all that stock. It's a lot of things, but overall, I mean, you know, she's said and done a lot of the right things, but I have really lost that drive, and I'm so burnt out from all of this stuff. It's that meme. It's all so tiresome, and it really is. So basically, in closing, I'll say this, keep an eye on who's supporting who, keep an eye on who's saying what, and, like I said, I was hoping to have actual results for Arizona and Nevada, And even Colorado, like Lauren Boebert's election is still going. She was losing election night, but now she's up by 1,000 votes. And I'm praying that she holds on to that lead because she was gerrymandered in her district to include a bunch of liberal areas to try and take her out. So, hopefully she holds on to that seat. And Joe Kent, another guy who I was really pulling for, I don't know where he stands right now. I think he may have lost, but I think it's still being decided. And it's just so tiresome. Like, really, what really has been killing me is seeing, the Herschel Walker race going to a runoff, Kathy Hochul beating Lee Zeldin, Tudor Dixon losing to Whitmer, Tony Evers, I think, winning his re-election in Wisconsin. It's just so cringy and disgusting, and you're just all like, what is happening like right now? How bad do these governors have to be in order for people to just say enough is enough? Like, it's just so, you just can't make sense of it. You really can't. It boggles the mind, really. And in closing, I'll leave you with this one quote, and it was in regards to the financial system, but I think it really rings true to our current electoral and government, our election and political state right now.
It's possible that we are in a completely fraudulent system.
Or you're wrong.
Sure. It's possible. I just don't know how. I guess when someone's wrong, they never know how.